I got you. Well, hey, everybody that's in here so far, man, I appreciate you guys coming in to watch Coach. And the big reason why I started this was to really get back to coaches and to be able to do sessions like this and just help D-line play. That's something I fell in love when I was at Drake, and I got really humbled at one point. And um, I played linebacker in high school, and just realizing how much faster and technically sound you have to be with the D-line. And I was looking for something one off season, and I wanted to learn more about D-line play and get better as a coach. And I didn't see anybody that kind of had that, what I was looking for. So I thought, why not just create it myself? So that was one of the big reasons why I started this, just to really give back, and hopefully this helps influence somebody. So I'm going to let Coach run this room as if it was your own, brother. I'm going to turn off my mic, and it's all yours.
What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler Roberts, defensive coordinator and D-line coach at Oklahoma Baptist. We're a Division II school in the GAC, the Great American Conference. We play a lot of those good teams like Harding, Henderson, Ouachita. And then this will be on like how we two gap out of a four down. And I know that's going to sound kind of interesting to some of you guys, three down stuff and everything like that, but it's kind of how we do it. So I'll kind of take you guys through that. So, like, first off, like last season, we had three all conference defensive linemen. That was the first time in school history. Jaden Brown, a guy that was a really, really solid football player, and a DTS thing that was another really, really solid football player. They were able to take those big steps and be all conference guys at their final seasons. Like Jaden Brown ended up being 14th in the conference in tackles with the way we played it and everything. And then a DTS Singh also was first in tackles with the defensive tackles in the conference, in the Great American Conference. So like I said, why we do it, I'm a three down guy at heart. So I've done kind of everything. When I was a DC, obviously originally at a JUCO, we played in the stack odd, and then I was 3-4 when we first got here to Oklahoma Baptist. And then when I was at Oklahoma State for a little bit as well, we ran the odd as well, but got it out of the 505, the three high stuff that Iowa State runs. So I really love the fact that you can get the strike and fall, like just getting the big time strike, getting vertical on them, trying to create that new LOS with it. And then the next thing with it is giving our guys an opportunity to make a play in both gaps versus run. So like you'll see that we're not like a huge drill team and stuff like that, just because the fact that I think you got to get those reps against offensive linemen and giving yourself realistic reps. So we're not going to do every drill under the sun and stuff like that. We're going to do those small things, but that's the biggest thing about it is I always joke with the guys. It's not about how many plays you played, but how many plays you made. So that's the biggest thing about it. And then like this kind of goes off, like obviously not as big D-line stuff, but it cleans up the fits for the LBs and the DBs, giving us the ability to play more coverages. And that's the biggest thing about it is like we don't run everything under the sun, but we want to make sure our fits are clean with that way. And the D-line can really opportunity give the space and let those LBs and DBs run in space like that. Two gapping and what we get. So this is kind of like the major things that you're going to get and how we get attacked. So like that's the big thing I talked about, like sealing on the inside on zone is a huge thing. Is they'll step with that front foot and try to really seal you off. And that's the biggest thing about it is you'll see in our drills and in our film, we really got to keep that dude square. And we kind of talk about with the tearing collapsing. So like when we're tearing that outside shoulder and trying to put that outside shoulder into our pocket. And then when I'm collapsing that top shoulder and I'm trying to keep it square. And then you'll see as we talk about it, I'm really trying to get my hip over his hip and trying to get my hands above my eyes. I know that a lot of people talk about like pad level and stuff like that, but it's hard to teach pad level and tell a guy that he's playing high in the middle of a game. So like that's the biggest thing about it is it's like just an easy thing for him. And obviously you can coach him in little things like that. But hey, are your hands above your eyes? And if they say no, well then you got to drop your pad level, get those hands above my eyes. Understanding where the back block is coming from in gap scheme is a huge thing that we talk about as well. And that's kind of the biggest thing about it is you just can't bury yourself with it. So like understanding that where the puller is going is where the back block is coming from. That's just a huge thing with guys. And that's just a huge thing that we try to just like make sure that they have a full understanding of and just make sure that we do it with that as well. And then we are a little bit slower. Like we don't fly with the back blocks. We make sure that we like hold that gap for a second. So that way that dude doesn't cut all the way back into us and we miss out on an easy tackle. And then a huge one that we talk about too as well is hinge is not pass. So like literally we still got to get inside on the hinge, and the hinge kind of falls back to like what I talked about at first and sealing the inside on zone. So like literally I still got to collapse that top shoulder and get myself into that B gap right there. So just to give myself an opportunity to make that play as well if it cuts back to us. So it's a huge thing is like we talk about trusting our line and stuff like that with our eyes. and everything, and just kind of going off that, man, just making sure that like I really, like I talked about, collapse that top shoulder, really work back to square. And then like on pass, the defensive ends really get like three. I know there's obviously more, but like literally we talk about it with the three defensive ends. Is he a vertical kicker? Is he an angle kicker? Is he a quick setter? And then just kind of depends off that with that as well, because I know everybody loves to pass rush off of it. The biggest thing with the vertical step is like we're in run game, we're like Mike Tyson, we're the heavy hitter, we're the big puncher. But then in the pass game, we were the Floyd Mayweather. So like we're counter punchers in everything that we do in the pass game, because that's the biggest thing about it is if you notice a lot of people in the pass game, the first one to shoot their hands is mostly the main one that's going to lose. So like if you really like wait on his hands and you beat the hands, you beat the man. So I kind of go back off that, like the vertical setter right there with it. So if he's deep set, you really got to get into his window and really attack that space. So the more you attack that space with it, like you're going to more give yourself an opportunity for him to punch. So that's why we go back to, like I talked about, like you got to win with speed. So, and you'll hear the guys all the time, like I joke with them, if you can win with speed, win with speed. An angle setter. So just an angle setter and a quick setter kind of like are the same-ish to me in a way. But the biggest thing about it is like literally if you get his shoulders to truly open up, and you'll give yourself that two-way go from there. So that's the biggest thing about it is I'm really trying to force him to open up his shoulders and trying to give him myself that two-way go. And then a quick set, if I can win immediately, win immediately. And then that's the thing about it, like interiors, like you'll have a lot of young interiors, even like our older guys last year, just trying to understand where the man side is versus the zone side. So like the three techniques, like we went to double three techniques last year in certain situations. And that's the biggest thing about it is they think they're getting overset for a good reason, but they're getting overset to be funneled into the center. And then like literally on the man side, that dude's trying to take away his inside because the fastest point is from A to B. And that's obviously from the inside to the quarterback. So that's just one things that I really try to stress to these guys is understanding that, hey, I'm not getting overset because that dude's a bad guy. That dude's on scholarship too. That dude's getting paid too. Like that dude is trying to set you up to like fall into his trap, fall into the honeypot. Drills. So like I talked about, like literally this will just be on mostly run stuff and stuff like that, but we go off hand placement. So like literally we'll go right, middle, left with it. And that's the biggest thing about it is with the hand placement is making sure that we're on the balls of our feet. So we really, really focus on being 60% on the balls of my feet. And that way that I'm able to press off any single way while also still being balanced. And that's kind of the biggest thing about it with it as well. Taking to the next step is like making sure that like literally I have my thumbs up and I'm really locking that dude away. Because the thing I really try to stress these dude is separation is everything. And then like going back to like what I talked before, we do a tear collapse on the right and left. Obviously, we don't do it on down the middle as much. If we get into a situation later in the season where these dudes literally are kind of ending up in 50-50s and stuff like that, we'll start working it more, but not really as much. And then we just kind of go on to the next one is the eyes on block. And it's just like really literally like kind of a quick reaction drill, just to kind of get them feeling it, the movement, and just making sure that like our hips are good, eyes are good, hands are good, feet are good, and giving ourselves an ability to play both gaps. So like the first one here, this is Richard Smith right here. He's one of our young bucks. So if you see right here, I don't like the lunge out, but if you notice, really, really good hand placement right there. He's taking a 6-inch power step. His hands are above his eyes. He's in a really good base right here. That 6-inch power step, he's able to, once we get to it, he's able to tear collapse from there. This is down the middle of it. And if you can see right there, again, let's walk through it a little bit slower. Right there, 6-inch power step, taking that really good right there, getting his hands above his eyes, taking that power position. And that's the next thing I always talk about is being in the house. So there's two ways that I don't like a guy is not being in the house. So the house right here is anything from shoulder width to literally like that 6-inch area from there as well. So like if I step anywhere out of there, my weight will transition to my heels and then I'll be off balance. So like, it's a big thing I try to stress to the dudes is once I get outside my house, nothing good can happen there. It's just like literally you tell the guys, hey, don't stay out past 11 p.m., 12 p.m. because that's when bad stuff happens. If you're in the house in all situations, then you're good. And then this is the next one again, right there. That's good. This is another young buck right there, making sure that he gets good hand placement, good eyes, and it should be one truly fluid motion. Right there again, if you can see it. I know this is kind of a funny cut one. This is another one right here. He's doing a really good job getting that vertical punch right there, getting his hands up, deadbolting that guy. Oh, 1 second, my bad. Making sure he gets a good deadbolt right there, getting that thumb up right there, pushing off that front foot. Right here, this is going to be our tear. So right there, if you see it, he's really trying to keep that guy square, but obviously we don't do the best job with each other on it, but he's really trying to keep that dude square right there. And then we're arm overing, and I call it my make it right hand. So like, I'm not a big shrug release guy just because I don't think that a lot of the guys that I've ever worked with and I've trained and stuff like that, man, they're not strong enough to just throw a 330 pound off him. So that's the biggest thing about it is right here. We work it. I'm tearing that shoulder and trying to put that shoulder into my pocket while also getting my hip through. And this kind of is a wide receiver thing, but I'm really trying to get to that stacked hip position. Like if I get that hip past his hip right there, if you can see it, once I get my hip past his hip, I've won. There is no way that he can do it, that he can replace his hands from there. So that's kind of how we go through it with that. The next one is we call it collapse. So I'm collapsing that shoulder. So boom, boom, boom. I'm working that. And the biggest thing I really try to stress to these dudes is making sure that I get my hip over his hip. So right here, if you see it, like watch right there, his hip is over the offensive lineman's hip, trying to give himself an ability to make that play. And it kind of falls back to like the 404 stuff where I'm getting knocked back and I'm peaking, but it's almost like a reverse peak because I'm peaking, and I'm trying to show presence, and then finish. So that way that I can make that play. So that's how we kind of play it off like that. So that's the biggest thing about it is trying to get my hands above my eyes, trying to get my hip over his hip, and then working a clean release, trying to work to that stacked hip position. That's how we stress it. This is another young guy right here. Boom, right there. He does a really good job of this. He's working his hands, his hips, and his eyes right there, and then cleaning it. He could be better with the back foot because obviously we don't like that toe right there being flared. Right here, you can see it, but that's the biggest thing about it. Again, right there, he works a good tear. I'd like him to be more violent with his release, but he's getting it. He'll be a guy that'll play for us down the road. Right there, again, this is a really good job. His feet aren't the best, but like watch the motion. He's really tearing that thing open. And I know a lot of guys are step into it, guys, like step with it through it, guys, but I'm going to eliminate space guy because the biggest thing about it is I want to make sure that I'm bringing that hip through. So I want to over exaggerate it because the biggest thing about it that I keep trying to harp to these guys is once I give my hip up, once I give this hip up right there, that movement, this movement right here, getting that hip through. If I give it up too early, he will just end up stonewalling me right there, and then he'll ride me. So that's kind of the biggest thing about it, where I'm a little bit different with it. But obviously, there's a million different ways to coach it, and that's why there's a bunch of amazing coaches that teach you that way as well. But I'm just a little bit different. And then right here again, you can see right there, he's really getting his hands above his eyes. He's tearing. He's collapsing that shoulder right there, and then working his hip through to that stacked hip position. And then this is kind of like how we do it right now next to it. So it's called eyes on blocks. And it's not like really fast. It's just basically movement. And like, obviously you can see we're doing it in not pads or anything like that. But like right here, you can tell that he's getting that block right there. He's collapsing it. And right there, boom, and he's working his hip through. And that's how we do it. And that's how we kind of take it from step to step to step. And then right here, this is our pass one. He's just really making sure that he's grabbing that elbow, controlling that ligament right there. And that's the biggest thing about it. I try to stress to these dudes as well. Like literally, if I control this elbow or this shoulder right here, I'm definitely going to win. But if I miss too short just because of it, that offensive lineman will always be able to replace his hands off that. And then this is our last one, not the cleanest rep on this, but I just wanted to show you guys this movement. So on outside zone, you'll see it later on when we played Ouachita. And Ouachita has a really, really good offensive tackle that transferred to Arkansas. And then that's the biggest thing too, is like forcing right here. If you see it, you see how he's giving up his top hip right there, right here. And then what I mean by the top hip is right here. This is our top hip. But watch him work his hip movement back. Boom right there, boom right there, boom right there. And then he works his release to a clean finish. But it's not the cleanest one right here with it, fellas. But if you see right there, he's getting his hip movement. So he's understanding that once I'm not just running with him, because that's the biggest thing about it that I try to tell these dudes is if I just turn into a run like this, that offensive lineman's won, and I'm not playing square. I'm not giving myself an opportunity to play in either gap with it. So that's kind of how we over exaggerate it right here in our eyes on block drill. And then this is another good one right there. You see it right there again, like getting that base block to you, understanding that that's what I'm getting. My line's firing out at me, so I'm trusting my line with it. Hands above eyes, working that release right there. So this first one is right here. So this first one is it's a pass rush move right here, but I just wanted to talk about just wanting the edge right here immediately. So like if you see right here, Aditya Singh, who is an all-conference guy right here, if you see that he works his hip to a stacked hip position right here with this. So right there, he's controlling that outside shoulder, and that's the biggest thing about it. Like I just talked about, you see how he controls that outside shoulder, and once he gets to that stacked hip position, that dude can never replace on him. So because he's keeping him elongated, like right there, as length, as extension right there off of it, and then he's working that hip through. And then this is the back block one off of it. So we would get in situations where we'd play double two odds, double three techniques, just kind of depending on what we were getting and stuff like that, where were we getting gashed and everything. But this is the one thing about the back block right here. So like right here, this is the perfect example of what I talked about earlier. So Bryce does a really good job of getting extension, getting his hands above his eyes, and then watch him get his hip through. So like that's the biggest thing about it is, and if you can see right here, probably not the best, but that guy still has his arm right here on Bryce's chest. So that make it right hand is able to help him get his elbow through and his hand, and he's able to get on this play right here in this situation. This is JB right here. I love JB. JB had some back problems going into the season and stuff like that. He was a 6-year senior, amazing young man. He's gonna be working at Desert Edge in Arizona and stuff like that. Amazing young man. Can't say enough good stuff about him. But if you see right here, he does a really good job of two gapping this, but he does a really good job of literally playing it out where he's getting extension right there. He's getting his hands above his eyes and he's able to fall off. Now, the big coaching points that I told to him after this game is you got to clean up your feet right here, because the biggest thing about it is his weight distribution's all jacked up. So if you watch his weight distribution right here, if you see that front foot, if you can notice this front foot right here, it's too much on his heels. So his first step, watch this, is going to split his feet. So right there, because his weight distribution is all jacked up, he's going to have to gain back balance from it. And then that way, but he saves himself because he's getting his hands above his eyes. And I want him to work a cleaner release off of it. But that's the biggest thing about it is he's doing a really good job getting his hands above his eyes and making sure that that dude is not lower than him. And then this is JB again right here. If you notice it, this is how he two gaps out of it. So if you see right here, again, his feet are a little jacked up. You got to work with what you got to work with. But that's the biggest thing about it is if you notice right here, he's able to play it both ways. He's controlling, working a release. Controlling, working a release. So he does a really good job with that aspect of it. And then this is right here. This is what I went over earlier with Rich. The first one I talked about the outside zone, the reach when we got the reach block. And then obviously Bryce will be the other one we talk about here. But this is an offensive tackle that's going to be at Arkansas. And Rich was just a freshman last year that does a really good job. But if you notice right here, he's really doing a really good job of pushing off that inside, that man foot right there. And he's doing a really good job of getting his hands. And then he's really controlling that block. So if you notice right there, he kind of plays it out basically how a 4 would. So he's getting that knockback right there, showing presence, and then getting out there and making that play on that. So that's a really good job by right here by him playing that 4 down, 2 gapping right there while we talk about it and everything like that. So that's the biggest thing. It's just making sure that I'm controlling the block, showing presence, and then being able to get off outside. And then Bryce right here, number 94, the 3 technique. Right there, if you notice right there, he does a really good job of collapsing that top shoulder. So this is his top shoulder right here in this situation, right here, and watch him really get knocked back. He's getting his arms above his his hands above his eyes. He's really trying to focus on getting that hip through, and then he works that clean release off of it right there. So that's a really good job by him, making sure that he's controlling that block, getting his hip over the top of his, and then making sure that he has a clean release right there. And then this is honestly like, if you heard Coach earlier, I know this isn't 4 down, but we played it the exact same way with it. And that's kind of the thing about it is like KYP, your personnel. So once Bryce got hurt for 4 games, like we had to go to our 3 down because that was our best personnel. So I know this isn't exactly the same topic, but we played it out the same way. So right here, JB right here, he's controlling that gap, controlling that gap, controlling that gap, controlling that gap. And then if you notice right there, he works a clean release off of it. But that's the biggest thing about it is trying to show presence, show presence, show presence, show presence, tear that shoulder and put his shoulder into my pocket, work that release right there, and then making sure that I get a clean tackle in that situation. And then this one's on Rich right here. This is another dude that's going to be playing that transferred up to D1 from Southeastern, but he's showing presence, showing presence, showing presence, and he needs to get a cleaner release on it. But he does such a good job with his hands, getting his hands above his eyes and making sure that he's controlling that block right there, that he does a really good job making this play in this situation. This is JB again, number 12 on this side right here. He does a really good job. Like if you see it right there, he's showing presence. So he's forcing the ball to declare off of him. And then right there, he makes that play easy. So like that's the biggest thing about it is with our two gap and stuff is I'm just showing a picture that is not actually there. So like literally with it and everything like that, like I'm showing you, oh, we're canceling the A and B gaps. Oh, we're playing the crush run. Oh, we're playing this. Like that's what you think we're doing, everything like that. But I'm giving these dudes the ability to make a play in either gap with the old school 3-4s and everything like that as well. So. Right over here, you can see Rich again. If you notice right here, he tries to peek. The biggest thing about it on these coaching points right here is just like what I went back to. He's got to collapse that dude's top shoulder even more. But like he does a really good job of squaring that dude back up. So you see how that dude's really square to him. He needs to work a better release off of it. But the biggest thing about it right there is he's really collapsing that top shoulder, being able to work him back to square right there as well. It's my guy Bryce again right here. So this is another big one. So if you notice Bryce's first step right here, it's not the best first step. It's outside his house. This is exactly what I'm talking about right here. So you see how his steps outside his house. So when I'm outside my house, I'm going to be on my heels and I'm naturally going to pop up in this situation. So that's a big thing that we talked about earlier that I really try to focus on these guys of just being in the house with this, but he does a really good job of getting his hands above his eyes and making sure that he understands what his press hand is. So the biggest thing I talk about with my press hand is if this dude's working towards me right here in this situation, like in this situation, he's working towards me. He's trying to cut that inside off. Then my press hand becomes my inside hand. But once that dude has overtaken me, if he's trying to work outside on me, so if he's trying to get this outside shoulder, my press hand becomes my outside hand right there in that situation. And then Bryce does a really good job right here, just making sure that he controls that gap, controls that fit with that. Right here is a JB again. He pulls himself a little bit out fast right here, but he does a really good job of controlling that block right there in that situation. And that's the biggest thing about it is he's working that dude like square, and then he's really making sure that his hands are heavy in these right here. So his hands are heavy. He needs to work a cleaner release, but he does a really good job of controlling that block right there and giving presence. And then this is kind of one of those ones that like literally I wanted to show just when we talked about pass rushing and stuff like that. So this is Bryce. This is our 5-up stuff. But when we're talking about like winning as an interior and as, like especially as a 0, because I think that's the thing about it is I think that young guys and everything like that, like especially in the 3-down stuff as well, when you get in those 404s and everything, they always talk about oh coach, I'm head up, I can't really win. But that's the biggest thing about it is I just wanted to show you this on a quick set right here. So he does a really, really good job right here of winning immediately. So like that's a quick set right there, but watch his hands. He's just waiting on him. And the biggest thing about it is he needs to get a little higher up. So he really gets like the forearm, but he could really get to that ligament right there, but he's working that hip through. So like, look, if you see the hand right there, he's grabbing like forearm, like I said, but he really like to grab him the elbow. And then he's really, really working on his hip, getting it through there right there. And it's a clean release, but obviously the ball got out early. And then this one's kind of a tough one right here, but I wanted to talk about this as well in the pass rush stuff, just to make sure that you guys have an understanding of it. But right here, but like this is a vertical step, but that's the biggest thing about it is just like I talked about earlier, just making sure that we understand like what kind of puncher he is and like literally with that. So like literally like I talked about in the pass rush game, like in the past, we're always going to be like Michael, Money Floyd weather and stuff like that. And that's the biggest thing about it is he's a counter puncher in this situation. So like literally like that dude never raises his hand or anything like that. So he just goes and wins with speed immediately, bends the edge, and gets a sack. So that's kind of the lay of the land right there, fellas. So I'll be open to any questions now. I don't know how this works.
I'll say this, coach. Like I like when you were just talking about like the adjusting. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. So like you showed that the look with going from like 3 down to 4 down of having that adjustment with that one D lineman. Hey, you guys got hurt. You can still do the same ideas just with different looks. I mean, it's kind of like with offenses with like a lot of the same concepts are the same. It's just window dressing. It's like if you're a really good defense, understanding, hey, I can show a different picture of these guys, but we're still doing the same thing. It could just be manipulating one guy. I think that's where when you get to really good programs and stuff like that and culture, it's you can adjust on the fly a little bit. Like if you're really good and you have a good foundation, hey, we just have one or two tweaks. It's not a full cell readjustment. I think that's
One
what's good.
Yeah, because I mean that's the biggest thing about it is like we put a bunch of hours into like the way we played with it and everything like that, and that's the biggest thing about it is I don't want those hours and those reps and everything like that because I believe football is a reps game 1,000%. Like the more you rep it and the more you do it and everything like that, the better you'll get at it. So I think that's the biggest thing with it is just making sure that these guys understand that like, hey, we're playing it the same way, just from a little bit different alignment and stuff like that. Understanding where the double teams are coming from in those situations and understanding that odd versus even rules and stuff like that from the O line. So.
You know, I love when you show the clip against the offense attack. It was a OBU or not OB
Watch talk. Yeah.
yeah. And you were talking also translating about like getting his hips through, like fighting. Hey, I'm fighting not to get reach. I'm gonna force this ball to really stretch the sideline, and just getting back in position. Is that something you guys talked about? Like, what's kind of your like a visual key you have for those guys? I understand like in drills, like what's for like the young pups. Seeing you guys play a lot of young pups, is like, hey, if he gets his head across, like, hey, your reach. You know what I mean? Like, how do you kind of get that more
So like
driven the mindset for them?
So like we talk about like literally just your aiming point. So like literally I talk about from that like a kinetic chain. So from the helmet to the shoulder to the hip to the ankle, I mean from the hip to the knee to the ankle to the foot. So like making sure that you understand where your line's at and then you're really dominating your line from there. So like my line's going to tell me exactly what I need to do. And my line is going to there's nothing about my line that is going to lie to me. Like I always joke with the guys, women lie, men lie, but that line doesn't lie to you. So like that's the biggest thing about it is your line's going to tell you exactly what you need to do and exactly how you need to take on the block. So like that's kind of the biggest thing about it is, and then just all the reps with it. So like that's the biggest thing about it is like we don't do a bunch of like drills and stuff like that. Like I don't believe in drills. Like I got a buddy that worked at Tulsa that he loves drills. Like he tells me all the time, man, you've seen this drill, all this drill and stuff like that. But I believe the way you get better at football is by playing football. So like we really do a really good job of getting like one man pods. We do 2-man, 1-man pods, and just understanding like literally what you're getting and stuff like that as well. So like that's the biggest thing with it. And then even we get like some 3-man pods, making sure that we get the guard, tackle, tight end, and stuff like that as well. But just making sure that you understand where your eyes should be at, and then the different variations off of it. Because the offensive line can only truly move 4 different ways. You can only move inside, outside, forward, and back. So like there's only 4 different things you have to key your eyes off of and just go from those variations on exactly what you need to know and exactly what you need to do off of it. So
I get that. I mean, I understand like a body on a body, like that's hard to replicate with like a shoulder, with just shoulder pads or a guy holding a hand shield or agile, whatever it may be, or cones. I mean, I get that concept of like ball is ball at the end of the day, man. Like if you could strike that agile really good or that hand shield really good, but like that's not a human being. A human
yeah,
being does not move and adjust like that. So I get
yeah,
that concept.
yeah.
I got you, man. So let me I love before we did this too, we were talking about just like your journey, man. So like what's your story, man? Like how did you get here? Like where was it like growing up and stuff like that, man? Like what made you fall in love and want to be at OBU?
So literally, like I started out, my grandpa, he played at Pepperdine. He's like a Hall of Famer at Pepperdine in football and stuff like that before they got rid of the football team and everything. And then he was a he was like my hero and stuff like that. And then my dad was my hero too, but he just wasn't really he liked watching it, he just wasn't really into it. So started playing football in seventh grade and stuff like that. Went from there. Played all the way through college and stuff like that, but kind of fell in love out of football for a couple of years once I graduated and stuff like that. And then my high school defensive coordinator, who was my college defensive coordinator at JUCO as well, he offered me to be the D line coach when I was 25 over there, and then did a really good job there with it. The next year, I was the defensive coordinator and D line coach at a school called College of the Desert as well. The next year, I went to Oklahoma State as a student assistant for a year, and that's where I got into like because I was with Derek Mason the first semester of our season in 2022, and then the next year I was with Nardo that next semester, and then I got the OBU outside linebackers job for 2 years, and then last year finally got to take over as defensive coordinator in the D line room and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing about it is, man, it's been a blessing. So it's been a blessing the whole entire journey.
Okay. So let me ask this, man. So let's say we have any coaches. Does any coaches have any questions real quick for coach? Let me just double check the chat. If not, it's fine. Coach, do you have what would be like the best way to get a hold of you? If like let's say a high school coach is watching this afterwards or a college coach, like what would be the best way to get in contact with you?
My Twitter is Coach Roberts 760. So Coach obviously ROBERTS 760. I mean, that's the biggest way to get in contact with me, Twitter and stuff like that. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. 80% of the time. Obviously, there's times in the season where it's not as easy to get a hold of me and everything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, man. So let me ask this, like what are your recruiting areas down there and when does spring ball start or if anybody ever has any interest coming out, you got any recommendation about that?
Yeah, uh what do we start in a month? So we start in a month. So I'm really excited about that. Can't wait to get going. I mean, we had two big transfers coming in and everything like that. So I'm really, really excited about it. So that's kind of the biggest thing about it. So yeah, I mean, I really feel like we gotta have a good football team this year. Just got to keep putting the work in and everything. So
I got you, man. We also talked about like before this started, we talked about like recruiting, man. So let's say you have like a Cali kid, because you're a California guy, so like, you got any advice about guys like that? Let's say if somebody wants to recruit out of state, because I know most D2s you recruit your main area, but if you ever have, let's say a coach out in Cali that or advice like that, man, like coming out to camp and stuff like what, how to get it on your guys' radar, man.
I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing about it is I just really like I really I'm not easy. Like I'm not a hard guy. Like I'm not afraid to go pull the trigger on a lot of those guys that are from out of state and stuff like that. Obviously, it comes with different things, like with those out of state guys and everything. Like those dudes, like they get homesick and stuff like that as well. I mean, being young and everything, but they're a bunch of really really good young men. So I mean, that's the biggest thing about it is like I don't give up on those kids at all. So like I like really building a relationship, and you can kind of really tell on the phone immediately like whether these kids are really really interested in it or they're just here along for the ride and everything. So it's kind of like a mixture in that way. But I mean, I literally we have like a DTS saying our one of our all conference defensive linemen from last year was from he is from New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Wow.
Our I mean our defensive line, honestly, this year the starting D line will be one defensive end will be from Buffalo, New York. Our D tackle will be from DFW. Our nose will be from Connecticut, from New Haven, Connecticut, and then our other defensive end will be from Jacksonville, Florida. So like we kind of have a this will be like kind of a first year with like the transfers and everything like that as well. But like literally, like the Jacksonville defensive end and the Texas kid are both guys that we brought in as high school kids. So like, I mean, I love our D line. They're really really good young men. So really really good young men.
That's awesome, brother. That's awesome. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate being willing to present on this, and I also really enjoyed our conversation before this, man. Just getting set up. You seem like a really good coach, and I wish you the best of luck during the spring ball and stuff like that. If you ever need anything, reach out, and we'll definitely post this up on YouTube and tweet something out. And I just appreciate you so much for being willing to present tonight, brother.
Appreciate you so much, my guy. Have a good one.
All right, take it easy, brother.
See ya.
Yep.